We go to Washington.
We don't give a fuck.
After James Comey, the former director of the FBI, was indicted on 2 counts of false statements and obstruction of justice,
Did you really think we cared?
one senator comes out and says Donald Trump is weaponizing the DOJ.
Sheer fucking hubris.
I'm Jazz Berganzo on this, weaponizing the DOJ.
Ooh.
Kind of sort of like what Dementia Joe did to Donald Trump.
Damn!
Mar-a-Lago, anyone?
Brilliant!
But it's what's next. What's up, everyone? Jazz Berganzo, what's next? Your daily dose. Hope you guys are feeling good today on this Friday. And of course, it was another long week. You know, we talked about Charlie Kirk, and of course, those who hate his guts. You know, Jimmy Kimmel got fired, came back, said more stupid and retarded things, and of course, no apologies. But not here to talk about that. James Comey, former director of the FBI, James Comey. You know James Comey, that wonderful, wonderful man who was going to pen that letter that, that was not going to indict Hillary during the whole, Benghazi fiasco. That one. Anyway, he just got indicted. He got indicted on 2 charges of false statements and obstruction of justice. But according to the Dems, and especially one senator, Donald Trump is weaponizing the DOJ. Weaponizing the DOJ. Not like we haven't seen that over the last 4 years, including Donald Trump and 96 counts and Mar-a-Lago and what have you. But never mind that. It's just facts. Anyway, let's go to the tape. And here we go. This comes out of Breitbart. Amy Klobuchar. Trump ordered Comey prosecution. He is literally weaponizing the DOJ. But before we hear from the wonderful senator out of Minnesota, isn't that the same state that you have that gay governor, Tim Walz, and, the crazy wife, and burned down the city and the state during the whole St. George episode? Anyway, on Thursday, CNN's Anderson Cooper 360, Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, claimed that the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey was ordered by President Donald Trump. Cooper said, "You were in the 2020 Judiciary Committee hearing that spurred this indictment. What is your reaction?" Klobuchar said, "I'm going to get a little bit out of the weeds here. Because, of course, we don't know all the details that were presented. But I look at it this way, Anderson. Trump ordered the prosecution. I'm sure he ordered it behind closed doors, but he ordered it right there on Truth Social. He fired the U.S. attorney who is, according to Senator Warner, a staunch conservative who looked at all the evidence, wasn't moving forward with charges, and he fired him. But before I read on, let's hear it from her words, or from her mouth, shall I say.
Ellie, we're going to come back to you shortly. Right now, I want to turn to Minnesota Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar. She was a law school classmate of Comey's, joins us by phone. You were in the 2020 Judiciary Committee hearing that spurred this indictment. What is your reaction?
I'm going to get a little out of the weeds here because, of course, we don't know all the details of what was presented. But I look at it this way, Anderson. Trump ordered this prosecution. I'm sure he ordered it behind closed doors, but he also ordered it right there on Truth Social. He fired the U.S. attorney, who is, according to Senator Warner, a staunch conservative who looked at all the evidence, wasn't moving forward with charges, and he fired him and then installed a White House aide to overrule career prosecutors. That is what I need to know, because this is simply dangerous. And you can see this through line with this one thing after another. He calls for prosecution of Letitia James. He calls for the prosecution and investigation of the Federal Reserve member, Lisa Cook, goes after Adam Schiff. Pardoned insurrectionists who attacked police officers, pressured prosecutors to dismiss a corruption case against Eric Adams. He is literally weaponizing the Justice Department.
Right there. Weaponizing the Justice Department. Eric Adams, Letitia James. 2 knuckleheads in New York who made it a vendetta to have Donald Trump brought up on 96 charges that, if would have came to pass, Trump would have been put in jail for over 100 years. They would have carried that much time behind bars. But of course, it was all nonsense and gobbledygook and garbage, and it all got thrown out of court. Well, weaponizing the DOJ. So, during the 4 years of dementia, it seems that Senator Amy Klobuchar has short-term memory, because of course she brought up the J6ers, and of course the J6ers, who most of them should have never been thrown in prison in the first place, in the gulags of D.C. for basically just showing up or walking through the Capitol building, during the riots, because there was no insurrection here. Anyway, for 4 years, you had a dementia-riddled old man who forced magical vax mandates, who forced mask wearing, who forced 6 feet separations, who forced employers to say, hey, if you don't do X, you must do Y, which means if you don't take the poke, you must be fired. And of course, how many times did they weaponize the DOJ against Donald Trump? Mar-a-Lago, raiding the man's private home in the wee hours of the morning. And the only thing that they didn't do was arrest him at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's the only thing they didn't do, because he wasn't home. And neither was Melania. So when you have this type of hypocrisy, and of course Democrats are legend when it comes to hypocrisy, this is the shit you're going to get. So they're crying and boohooing because James Comey got indicted. The fact of the matter is that James Comey would have done a fucking job during Benghazi. Hillary would have been put in prison. She would have been put in prison, and rightly so, because she sat there and did nothing as as Ambassador Stevens literally got ended by Islamo-Nazi motherfuckers. So there's that. But let them play their little game. Little bullshittery game. As always, it will fail, because it always does. And we're going to see where this indictment goes. We're going to see how far this goes, if Comey, if at all, either the courts are going to throw this out, or Comey's going to be put in prison. One or two things are going to happen. So there's that. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Borganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it. Hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. Continue spreading the word about the show. Appreciate you guys watching as always. And we'll see you next time. Peace.